CD World, the music store that ruled a shrinking world. Picture this. It's 1986 and you walk into a gleaming new store called CD World in downtown Boston. The walls are lined with those mysterious silver discs that promise perfect sound forever, and employees in crisp polo shirts are eagerly demonstrating how you can skip tracks instantly, rewind without rewinding, and never worry about your favorite song getting scratched again. Founded by entrepreneur Michael Kohlberg with backing from Camelot Music, CD World emerged at the perfect moment when compact discs were transitioning from expensive novelty to must-have technology. The timing seemed flawless. CD sales had grown from practically zero in 1983 to over 53 million units by 1986, and music lovers were hungry for stores that specialized in this revolutionary format. While traditional record stores still devoted most of their floor space to vinyl LPs and cassette tapes, CD World bet everything on the compact disc, creating spacious, well-lit stores that felt more like high-tech showrooms than dusty record shops. The concept was deceptively simple. Be the definitive destination for CD buyers, offer the largest selection possible, and ride the digital wave to retail dominance. In those early years, when a single CD cost between $15 and $20 and represented a significant purchase for most consumers, CD World's knowledgeable staff and comprehensive inventory made it the go-to destination for serious music collectors and casual listeners alike. The 1990s belonged to CD World as the chain expanded aggressively across the United States, opening stores in prime mall locations and standalone properties from coast to coast. By 1995, the company operated over 120 stores and had become the largest specialty compact disc retailer in America, with annual revenues exceeding $200 million. The secret to their success lay in understanding that CD buyers wanted more than just music. They wanted an experience, information, and access to titles they couldn't find anywhere else. CD World stores typically carried between 25,000 and 30,000 different titles, far more than the music sections at department stores or the limited selections at gas stations and electronics retailers. The chain pioneered the concept of listening stations where customers could preview albums before purchasing, understanding that the higher price point of CDs made try before you buy essential for many shoppers. Their stores were meticulously organized by genre, with extensive sections for classical music, jazz, world music, and imports that catered to sophisticated listeners who had grown frustrated with the mainstream-focused inventories of larger chains. The company also capitalized on the reissue boom of the early 90s, when record labels began releasing digitally remastered versions of classic albums, often with bonus tracks and enhanced packaging that made longtime fans eager to repurchase music they already owned on vinyl. CD World's success during this period reflected the broader transformation of music retail, as consumers traded the warm analog sound of records for the convenience and durability of digital playback. Behind CD World's rapid expansion was a business model that seemed perfectly calibrated for the CD era's unique economics and consumer behavior patterns. The company focused heavily on higher-margin imported CDs and limited editions, often selling Japanese pressings and European releases at premium prices to collectors who valued superior sound quality and unique packaging. Unlike big-box retailers who used CDs as loss leaders to drive traffic, CD World maintained healthy profit margins by positioning itself as a destination for serious music fans willing to pay full retail price for hard-to-find titles. The chain also developed sophisticated inventory management systems that tracked regional preferences and seasonal patterns, ensuring that stores in college towns stocked up on alternative rock before the fall semester, while locations in affluent suburbs maintained robust classical and jazz sections year-round. CD World's marketing strategy emphasized expertise and discovery with staff recommendations, detailed genre sections, and promotional displays that introduced customers to new artists and reissues they might not encounter elsewhere. The company cultivated relationships with record labels and distributors that gave them early access to promotional materials, advance copies, and exclusive releases that helped drive foot traffic and build customer loyalty. Store managers were given significant autonomy to tailor their inventory to local tastes, creating a sense of community and specialization that distinguished CD World from national chains with standardized selections. The chain's commitment to customer service and music expertise became legendary among serious collectors and casual fans alike throughout the 90s. CD World hired employees who were genuine music enthusiasts, often musicians themselves, or record collectors with encyclopedic knowledge of specific genres and artists. Staff members could discuss the differences between various pressings of the same album, recommend similar artists based on a customer's existing collection, or track down obscure imports through the company's extensive distributor network. The stores regularly hosted in-store performances by both established and emerging artists, creating a sense of community that went beyond simple retail transactions. CD World also pioneered the concept of special ordering, allowing customers to request virtually any CD in print and typically receiving it within a week or two, long before internet shopping made such services commonplace. The chain's frequent buyer programs rewarded loyal customers with discounts and advance notice of sales, building a dedicated base of regular shoppers who viewed their local CD World as an essential weekly destination. During the peak years of the mid-90s, when CD sales across the industry grew by double digits annually and new releases routinely debuted at premium prices, CD World seemed perfectly positioned to ride the digital music boom indefinitely. The company's success appeared to validate the belief that knowledgeable retail specialists would always have advantages over mass-market competitors, regardless of technological changes in the music industry. However, even as CD World celebrated its success in the late 90s, fundamental changes in technology and consumer behavior were quietly undermining the foundations of its business model. The introduction of CD burners for home computers in 1995 initially seemed like a minor concern, as blank CDs cost several dollars each and the burning process was slow and technically challenging for most consumers. But by 1999, CDR prices had dropped below $2, burning speeds had increased dramatically, and user-friendly software made copying CDs almost effortless for anyone with basic computer skills. Suddenly, music fans could borrow a friend's CD collection and create perfect digital copies for a fraction of retail price, eliminating the need to purchase many titles at full price. The rise of file-sharing networks like Napster in 1999 accelerated this trend exponentially, allowing users to download virtually any song ever recorded without paying anything at all. While the music industry initially dismissed file sharing as a fad that would primarily affect mainstream hits, CD World's specialized inventory of imports, rarities, and hard-to-find titles proved especially vulnerable to digital piracy because these were exactly the types of recordings that dedicated music fans were most eager to share online. The company's higher-margin business model, which had been a strength when customers had no alternatives to retail purchase, became a liability when those same customers could obtain identical music for free with just a few mouse clicks. By 2000, CD World's management began noticing declining sales in key categories like alternative rock and electronic music, where tech-savvy younger customers were increasingly turning to digital alternatives rather than paying $20 for a new release. The challenges facing CD World extended beyond piracy to include fundamental shifts in music retail that threatened specialty stores across the industry. Big box retailers like Best Buy and Circuit City began treating CDs as loss leaders, selling new releases at or below wholesale cost to attract customers who would hopefully purchase higher-margin electronics and appliances. Walmart and Target followed similar strategies, offering hit albums at prices that were often lower than CD World's wholesale costs, making it impossible for the specialty chain to compete on popular titles. Online retailers, led by Amazon, provided convenient ordering and often better prices than traditional stores, while offering customer reviews and recommendations that replicated some of the expertise that had been CD World's primary advantage. The rise of used CD stores like FYE and independent shops also cut into CD World's market share, as customers discovered they could find most titles they wanted at significantly lower prices with only minimal wear. Perhaps most damaging was the gradual shift in how consumers discovered and consumed music. As radio gave way to internet streaming, MTV stopped playing music videos, and younger listeners began gravitating toward individual songs rather than complete albums. CD World's business model depended on customers who wanted to own entire albums by artists they discovered through traditional media channels. But this pattern was breaking down as music became more fragmented and accessible through digital means. The company's attempts to adapt by expanding into DVD sales and music accessories provided some additional revenue, but couldn't offset the fundamental decline in CD purchasing among their core customer base. By 2000, CD World was struggling with declining same-store sales, increasing competition from both discount retailers and online merchants, and a customer base that was rapidly embracing digital alternatives to physical media. The company attempted several strategic pivots, including partnerships with online music services, expanded DVD and video game sections, and promotional pricing that sacrificed margins to maintain market share. However, these efforts failed to address the fundamental problem that CDs were becoming obsolete for many consumers, particularly the younger demographics that had driven much of the growth in the 90s. The launch of Apple's iTunes Store was still 3 years away, but early digital music services and widespread file sharing had already convinced many music fans that the future lay in downloading individual tracks rather than purchasing complete albums on physical media. CD World's extensive inventory, which had been its greatest asset during the format's peak years, became a liability as the company found itself holding millions of dollars in stock that was selling much more slowly than anticipated. The chain's specialized focus, which had allowed it to thrive when CDs were the dominant format, left it poorly positioned to compete in a marketplace where music was increasingly commoditized and available through multiple channels. Store traffic declined sharply in 2000 and 2001, as customers who had once made weekly visits to browse new releases and discover obscure titles found they could accomplish the same goals more efficiently and cheaply through online sources. The final chapter of CD World's story unfolded rapidly in 2001 as the combination of economic recession, continued digital disruption, and operational challenges created an insurmountable crisis for the struggling retailer. The company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in March 2001, citing declining sales, excessive lease obligations, and intense price competition from big-box stores and online retailers. Despite attempts to restructure and find new financing, CD World was unable to convince lenders or investors that specialty music retail had a viable future in the digital age. The chain began liquidating inventory and closing stores throughout 2001, with the final locations shuttering by December of that year, just 15 years after the company's founding. The collapse of CD World marked the end of an era in music retail, as the store that had perfectly embodied the compact disc revolution became one of its most prominent casualties. Former employees and customers remember the chain fondly as a place where music discovery and expertise mattered more than price. But those qualities proved insufficient when the fundamental nature of music distribution changed so dramatically. The company's rapid rise and fall illustrated how quickly retail fortunes could change when new technologies disrupted established business models, and how specialization that provided advantages in one era could become fatal weaknesses in another. CD World's legacy extends far beyond its own corporate lifespan, serving as a cautionary tale about the challenges of adapting to technological disruption and changing consumer preferences. The company's story foreshadowed the struggles that would eventually claim other music retail giants like Tower Records, Virgin Megastores, and countless independent record stores as digital music continued its inexorable march toward dominance. In many ways, CD World was a victim of its own success. The chain had positioned itself so perfectly for the CD era that it found adapting to post-CD reality nearly impossible. The expertise and inventory depth that customers valued in the 90s became less relevant when music fans could instantly access information about any artist online and sample tracks before deciding whether to purchase or download them. The company's focus on full album sales aligned perfectly with the CD format's strengths, but left it poorly positioned for the singles-driven digital market that emerged in the early 2000s. Today, as music streaming services have largely replaced both physical media and digital downloads, CD World's brief but significant reign seems like a relic from a simpler time when owning music required visiting a store, talking to knowledgeable staff, and making deliberate purchasing decisions. The chain's rise and fall within just 15 years demonstrates how rapidly entire industries can be transformed by technological change, and how companies that seem invincible during boom periods can vanish almost overnight when market conditions shift. For the thousands of music fans who discovered favorite albums while browsing CD World's carefully curated inventory, the store remains a nostalgic reminder of an era when buying music was as much about the experience as the product itself.